Hello, once again, everyone. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency, specializing in authors and musicians. Remember, we shine only when we make you shine. Call us today at 941-567-6193. Veteran keyboardist and performer Brian Chatton, whose 50-plus year career encompasses all incarnations of the so-called British invasion, which helped to shape modern popular music, has led a storied life, far different from that of his humble beginnings in northern England's Lancashire province. Chatton is a gifted showman who has garnered the respect of the many music industry giants he has worked with over the years. From the time of his first professional gig at the original Cavern Club in 1965, they include Phil Collins, Meat Loaf, Justin Timberlake, the Hollies, Alan Parsons, Miles, Jon Anderson. His hit record, I Want to Be a Cowboy, a collaboration with Nick Richards and the members of their band Boys Don't Cry, sold over 1 million copies worldwide, and is still featured in movies, advertisements, and other venues over 30 years since its initial success. It also earned them a gold record. Since immigrating to the U.S. in the 1990s, Chatton has participated in a variety of professional experiences, including an appearance playing piano with B.B. King on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. He is the father of two equally talented daughters who have followed his footsteps into the arts respectedly, and of whom he is very proud of. Emily Chatton is a much sought after fine artist in New York City, while older sister Charlotte Chatton Adler has been a successful actress and screenwriter in Hollywood for over 20 years. Please welcome keyboardist, songwriter, and author Brian Chatton to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Brian.
Yes, young man, good to be on.
You got to be very proud of your daughters.
Anybody, Ray, so.
Let's talk about your book, man. Rolling with Rock Royalty. What a great book. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
It's got everything. If you want to know basically from the history of rock and all the famous people that he's been associated with, it's all in the book. And I guess Tony Kaye kind of helped you promoting the book at one time. Is that true?
Well, he gave me a pull up, a tribute of the first, and basically I think he said something like, "I think it's brilliant you're writing a book, dude." He said, "Yeah," he says, "it means your grandchildren will be able to color it all in." And and yeah, we've been friends for a long time, play tennis a lot. Now he's moved to Florida, which is a bummer for me, but he's loving it, and so is his lovely lady, Danny. So
yeah, Tony's cool.
I'll go visit sometime.
Did you get his latest album? Which is
well, I was present. In fact, I do believe I helped a little to inspire. Well, I don't know about inspire, but to think about playing again, because he hadn't played for a long time.
Right.
And he's a brilliant player. I mean, he plays organ like nobody else. And he plays just brilliant rhythmical things. If you think about his playing, he's very classical, but he's also very rocky. We both admired Keith Emerson a hell of a lot.
Yeah,
I lived with him, as you probably know.
Yeah,
quite a long time, and we both agreed he was the best. He really was. But Tony's right up there with the very best, and he's a good lad.
It's something that you mentioned to me earlier. You said you wrote 8 songs with Jon Anderson 33 years ago, and only 7 have been used, which is still okay. The one remaining track, you said, Welcome Touch, which you believe is the best song. You're hoping to make the final cut for the 1,000 Hands 2 album, which is in progress right now.
I was a little surprised that it didn't go on the first one, but knowing Jon, he's a master of the big picture, Jon. and taught me a hell of a lot about composition and not to play tennis when you're supposed to be working. He used to tell me off, because in the Warriors, of course, you know, he was my big brother. He used to stand up for me against the rest of the guys in the band, who sometimes were rough because I was the youngest. And he'd say, all right, guys, that's enough, you know. I mean, come on, he only comes from Bolton. I mean, you know. But that was a great band. And John, well, we've done a lot together, hell of a lot, and we've been muckers now since '67, since he came knocking at the door and demanding that I leave the house and go and tour the world. And I jumped around like a monkey on all the films because my dad, of all people, said yes. Took him a while.
Right.
And my mom just cried and said yes, you know. But it was an amazing 2-3 years, and met a ton of people. The Brits stayed together, you know. We still do. And I just was the most inventive, adventurous, interesting, and let's say I skipped being a young lad when I went to Germany, because I was living with the hookers and the dudes who were, you know, the dudes with the big shirts and the big hats. As soon as I arrived, guns going off in Cologne. I couldn't believe it. Never heard of a gun shot before, you know. And right across the road, somebody was doing something naughty. So that was a wake-up call. I was with the big boys then.
Yeah. I love John. John's been on the show several times. I told Rick Wakeman this. I think John should have been a priest. I mean, he's got that personality, and I know his brother's a priest.
Yes, Tony. Tony was a lovely man. Yeah. I'm sure he still is, but he's a recluse now. He's on the Isle of Wight. He drives a little train around for all the kids. He's very religious guy. But boy, he's a very cool man indeed. And I loved him a lot, Tony. It's a pity when I joined, he basically left because it was time for him. He wanted to do other things. Right. But I did talk to him and see him quite a lot. And he's a lovely guy. He unfortunately lost his wife very early. And that kind of rocked his world, you know. Right. But he's still such a lovely man. Everybody likes him, and I think he's kind of a priest on Isle of Wight now.
Oh, good. Yeah. Another song you mentioned to me was the Lennon. You did a Lennon cover with John. Nobody's told me there'd be days like this. I'd love to see that on the final cut. You know,
we
on
did
the
a
album.
pretty interesting version. You know, everything he does, he's always thinking, you know, and when we go back to the original question about Welcome Touch, I think without a shadow of a doubt, it is the best song of them all. It's the most commercial, the most memorable. And for me, from my point of view, it really allowed me to express myself. No barriers, no nothing with John, nothing. You could go anywhere you like with this guy. And he'll welcome it, but don't get stuck on a little bit. Oh boy, you know, I see, Brian, you've been playing tennis and counting your tennis balls again. I told you yesterday we needed to do this. I said, John, this is the 6th night I've been up without sleep, dude. Come on, give me a break. Yeah. He always said that he was tough with his band, and I think every guy in the band will agree. But I'll guarantee you they'll also agree that there's nobody quite like him for work ethic. Yeah, he'll work anytime, anywhere.
In your book, you mentioned that you and Jack Berry.
Yes.
Jack was the manager of the famous Marquee Club, right?
The Marquee Club, yes.
The Marquee Club. And you and Jack were the ones who kind of introduced Chris Squire
That's
to
right.
Jon Anderson, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I remember the day he
Right.
came and yeah. Well, you got the story, so go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to mention that. That's huge. That's big in rock and roll folklore. You know, I was lucky enough to interview Chris Squire as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's a friendly giant, that guy.
Friendly
Love,
giant, exactly.
I actually tried him out, Ray, for a band I was in
Really?
before. Yes, and I said to the other guy, the lead singer in the band, I said, he's fantastic. He's absolutely amazing. And I looked at him. He said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see there was something like stopping him from saying, oh yeah, yeah, that's it. And I said, what is it? Well, what is it about him? And he just looked up in the air. And I looked at him and I said, well, yeah, there is that. You know, he is the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
And we were so stupid in those days. You know, looks was like so important. And we didn't take him in the band. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm going to see, rehearse. And sure enough, he's there. Oh, Brian, we've met, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. That's in the book. I remember that. Great stories too.
Yeah. I've been lucky. I think I've just been very lucky.
What one very cool story was, it was at Harold Pendleton and Keith Richards had a little feud going on there, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh man, that was again a wake-up call. Oh man, I'm not in Kansas anymore. A friend of yours just made an album called that, right? And Mike Franklin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet, but he says it's fantastic.
Yeah. Michael Franklin, he's been on the show several times, and if I can have any influence of having your favorite song on the album, I'll mention that to him. If
oh boy,
I'll push him a little bit.
I love it because honestly, it's so sad because I've known this song now for like 36 years.
Yeah,
and lived with it for 36 years, and I can't do anything with it if Jon doesn't want to do anything with it. You know, he's always been the boss. And it's just, I'm pining here to listen to it on the radio because, I mean, when I've played it to good friends in my house, they've been absolutely knocked out. And I just say, I know. I just hope everybody else can get a chance to hear this.
Is there any place where we can hear it or not?
I'm not allowed.
Oh, you're not allowed. Okay.
But of course, if you give me your email.
Okay, good. Definitely.
Say that.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'll have a word with Michael, okay? Producing, and I'd love to send it to you.
Well, you have my email. You do have my email.
I do, of course. Yeah. Well, Tim, of course, I've been, I've helped. I'm saying I helped. He's helped me.
Right.
To work on 6 new songs that I've just written. And
good.
Really good, and he plays bass on a couple of them. And what a bass player he is.
So what's going on with that? Is there a solo album coming out or?
Well, yeah, I've got it all set up now.
Right.
I'm about to looks like I'm about to start a couple of residencies here in LA, once a month in one club and then once a month in another. I don't want to just do odd gigs here and there. I'd like to do a couple of residencies so I can build up a proper, following.
Right.
And I want all 3 people to know that I'm going to be there each week.
Excellent. Yeah. We need some new music from Brian Chatton for sure. I mean, this was kind of funny. You could have had a different career, you and Tony, as models. Is that right?
I certainly could. Yeah. He can model a tennis player losing any day.
Is that right? Really? Okay. Yeah. Next time I talk to him, I'll mention that.
Slightly have the edge, but then in the game, he just tops me slightly on the age side of things.
Okay.
So him that. And God knows he's a fit bastard, I'll tell you. He really is.
Yeah.
Always was, and tough as nails. Yeah, he's quite a character, is Tony. It's a shame he's kind of not in the public anymore. I did do some silly videos with him. I can send you those.
Okay, yeah. I'll put them on a website.
We had too much time on our hands, so we did about 6 different videos with masks of Phil and what's the guy called? Paul McCartney, and who else? The guy who does the America's Got Talent. Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell.
Really? Masks?
We had a mask of him. We had a few bevies at the same time, and I'd got dressed up for a few.
Oh my gosh.
And, occasionally I wore men's clothing, but not very often.
I got to see that.
Yeah, I think you'll like that. I'll send them to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. I love the guys you hung around with. I'm going back to your book again. You, Jon Anderson, and you were in Greg Lake's flat. And you listened to all your new albums. You know, you had, I guess, Yes had a new album out. You had Art 2 with Flaming Youth. And you always mentioned anytime there was a vocal with you singing, you got a little bit embarrassed, right?
I don't know what it is. Every time I hear me singing, I just go, "Oh, you've got to be kidding, dude. What happened to the milkman job? You know, you've still got time." And Bolton's still looking for his village idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. You said my fear of rejection or disapproval and paranoia get the better of me, and I start to squirm and grimace, not dissimilar to how you'd imagine dealing with a trouser cough and a spacesuit. That's a good lyric.
Well, an anal gas emission. I mean, we have to be gentlemen at all times. You know that.
Yeah,
and that's funny. That's funny, Ray. But carry on. I'll remember what you just said because I got a funny thing to say about that.
Okay. You want to say it now, or?
All right. Well, you know how as rock stars are supposed to like have orgies and all that lot, like after every gig. Really?
Sure.
I mean, really? I mean, do you, Ray?
Do I? No.
Go on. Do you? You're not saying it.
Well, I've been married almost 40 years now, so.
Yeah. Okay. And the point is.
Yeah. I had a good time before that.
Well, that's fair enough. I was also married, so
I
did not mess about.
Right.
Not too much, you know, not too much. I didn't go home with a book, but I didn't mess about either, you know.
Yeah.
But what it was people talk to me about that, they say, yeah, oh God, you have kids in the rehearsal room and so on. Listen, between you and I, Ray, I'd have run a mile if I saw Jones Willie. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sure he said the same thing. The last thing on our mind was like, you know, doing something together with somebody else. I mean, come on, you know. I mean, that's come from Bolton, you know, not the space somewhere.
I've heard so many stories of people that hung out with Keith Moon. Oh my God! Did you know Keith?
He used to fight all the time with Led Zeppelin's roadie. I'm trying to remember his name now. But they were such characters. They'd literally fight. They did it at Reading Festival at the bar when they first meet. And I mean, thump each other in the face and wrestle on the floor. And then all of a sudden they'd stop and go, "How the are you, mate? All right? Are you fine? All right, mate? You know? Let's have a drink. Come on." And that's who they were, you know. They were those people. They were exactly what you imagined they'd be, not on stage.
He was a real rock star. Yeah.
Brilliant drummer as well.
Oh yeah.
Keith Moon and John Bonham, of course.
Both of them, yeah. I know John Bonham's sister, Deborah.
Oh yeah, I know Jason.
Yeah.
You know, he supported John Miles on an English tour for about 4 weeks, and we had a lot of fun with Jason's band.
Yeah.
On the last gig of the night, I'm
Right.
sure you've read a few of those stories.
Oh, sure.
Meatloaf and so on. The stuff that went on the last night. It's worth reading the book just to find out what was on then. You know.
I like John Miles. I think I bought. Was it Rebel? Was that
yes.
Yeah. Rebel. That was the first album I bought from John Miles. That was a great album.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Of course, music. What a song that was. I went to his 70th in Sunderland a couple of years back.
Right.
And nobody was more shocked and saddened by his demise than I was, because again, somebody I spent 5 years with and looked up to, because he was like Tina Turner's right hand man. And to get that position, you got to be pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Jimi Hendrix, you mentioned a little while ago. Now, this is very weird, what you say in the book, that one day he walked in, he saw you sitting with Jack Berry, and he glared at you with a disgusting expression on his face, and he said something like, "Man, I'll speak to you with my guitar," and then left. And that was the last time you saw him. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it wasn't too much before he passed.
Yeah.
And we'd spoken many times about getting together and writing, or me writing his music. He never really made any interest in mine, because we didn't talk about me. I mean, when you've got God in front of you, I had a few questions, you know.
Yeah.
And so, lovely guy, lovely man. Of course, you could feel everybody's eyes were on him all the time. You look, and he literally had an aura around him that was like multicolored rainbow. And he was very down to earth, very modest man. I found him to be. I mean, when you did talk to him, when you could find your mouth, you know, you're kind of stunned at first that you're actually looking at this guy.
Yeah.
Nobody else had that kind of power over me. No.
Do you think he had a
later he kind of shone for me, and he was huge inspiration, and John and Anderson and so on. But Joe Cocker and B.B. King, of course. When you're with guys like that, you do stop and you correct yourself all the time. Very rarely you just blurt anything out. You know, you've got to really consider that these guys do not suffer fools, you know.
Right. So you never figured out why he gave you that kind of look? Was it because of Jack, or?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, now you Hendrix fans will probably say, what a loaded bollocks, you know, but apparently he didn't join the army because he said that he was like a conscientious objector, and you know, I think he kind of made out that he was the other persuasion, and because of that, he didn't have to fight.
Right.
And so afterwards, when he got out of the army and the war was over, he thought I'm sure people know about this, so I'd better avoid being with anybody who's of that persuasion, you know, gay.
Right.
And so when I was sat with the guy, you know, I mean, I'm not gay, but my boyfriend was at the time. I saw you nod your head. Oh no, I wouldn't entertain stuff. After, you know, all the time. But anyway, you know, he cowered away a little from all that, and he saw me with a gay guy, and he must have thought, oh well, Brian must be gay.
Oh, okay.
So he would walk on, and well, you know, it could be true. I kind of feel as though when he pointed at me and he said that, "I'll speak to you with my guitar," people said, "That's a compliment, man."
Yeah.
About.
Sure.
I don't believe it to be so. I think it's a little shocked.
I guess he would have had the same expression to the Beatles, because Brian Epstein.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a good question because, in those days, people weren't that, sure about people who were of the other persuasion. Everybody in the industry was gay.
Yeah.
Literally everybody that I met in London. And it was a little scary at first, but then I thought, well, what the hell? They all turned out to be really nice people, and funny and very generous because I was broke.
Yeah.
And they looked after me, all the gay society, for a couple of years while I was in London. And I don't regret a single second because they made me laugh. And they were very clever and they ran the industry.
Yep. A lot of rock stars too go both ways,
Yeah, well, I do consider ladies as nice people. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Just watching your face. I like pulling people's legs, especially.
Yeah. You got kind of a Dudley Moore humor going on there.
Yeah. Hey, he was funny. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore.
Oh, yeah, they were great. I love those guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention Tony Kaye one more time because I want to plug his album, End of Innocence. It's a great album. Everybody should buy it, of course. But is it true Janis Joplin was after Tony Kaye? Really?
Oh,
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, Tony is a very personal guy. He's very kind of secretive. So there's never a time when he's kind of comfortable really discussing things that are so kind of personal. But we had to have a laugh over that. He was hiding in the kitchen of the speakeasy in a pan cupboard because she was with Mama Cass, I think. And
Mama Cass Elliott. Yeah.
And he'd been with her for 2 or 3 days, I think, in a hotel, probably with the whole band, but he was visiting her, and he couldn't really hang anymore for whatever reason. And so he said, "Oh, I got to get out of here." He's a handful, to say the least. And so he went to speak and went in the kitchen and hid there for a while. And he could hear him. Where is he? Where is he?
That's funny.
Oh, and I can imagine Tony hiding in a pan cupboard. It's just hilarious.
You should have sold him out. That's what friends do,
Oh yeah. I mean, he knew if you think I know, you've did he tell you exactly the kind of people that he used to hang with? Probably no.
No.
His best friend was Brian Jones.
Okay.
Jones and Bonham and McCart and not so Ringo and George. He knew very, very well. He met them all, of course, because was one of the Beatles' favorite bands.
Right.
And going back a little bit there to the Speak, they got in there because Sly and the Family Stone couldn't make the gig, and so the manager of Yes at the time was the manager of Speakeasy, and he said, "Right, my boys are coming down." McCartney was there. I think Mick Jagger was there. Probably Jimmy was there. Everybody went because they thought it was Sly and the Family Stone.
Right.
And Yes were on, and they just knocked them out completely. And that was the beginning of the band.
Huh. Tony told me that he wasn't necessarily thrilled, for being in Yes. He wasn't like one of his, greatest moments, I think.
No, I mean, he's been with Bowie and so on.
Yeah.
So he could say he kind of used Yes as a stepping stone.
Exactly.
However, they stood the test of time, Yes, and quite rightfully so. But he was different to the rest of the guys because he was very influenced, like myself, with American music. Not so much The Who, Pink Floyd. Of course, we respected them, Zeppelin especially. But we were more interested in a musical sense with Stevie Wonder and you know, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Mahavishnu. Now I know that's jazz, but there's the rock. You can put all your you know, your classical training and stuff. I think Tony had some of that, and of course what I taught him, which was most of what he knows.
That's funny.
Well, he just thinks so. We found out. No, we learned off each other. You know, it's same with living with Keith. I used to watch him from close quarters. Just the two of us. I'd have a piano in my room. He would, and he taught me a hell of a lot. God bless him. He had little tricks. It's tricks, you know, with music, just like it is with every kind of job. You learn these tricks so that if you're stuck for something to play, oh, I remember I could do that here. And over time, you just know so many that you don't have to stop and think. It's sight reading, you know, it's mental sight reading.
I had a really long interview with Keith Emerson, and we talked about. If you go to Wikipedia, Keith Emerson, you're going to see a conversation I had with him. I don't know who put that in there. I didn't put it in there. About the flying piano at California Jam and how that came about.
And of course, Oscar Peterson's son seeing him.
Yeah.
Talked about that, right?
Yeah.
He saw him on TV and he told his dad, he said, you got to get this guy on the program.
Yeah.
The A Train. And he came back from America and he was absolutely chuffed out of his brains. Oscar is the best.
Oh yeah.
No question.
It's like you, it shocked me when Keith, you know, passed. You know, that was horrible. Very bad news.
Wow. You know, what can you say about that? He was a shining star amongst us all, honestly. And it was such a shock. What a shock.
I know. He was so happy on the phone. You know?
How cool can you get? He was just up in this space machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Drive to his house in the country.
Yeah.
And he'd just get out and walk into the pubs with all his kind of his attire, which was like, he looked like a lizard, you know, with all these scales on his shoulders and stuff. Well, he'd be very ordinary, of course, but he'd have this, not a Maserati, an Italian car it was. And I've never been in anything quite like that before. And it was just next to nothing to him. He didn't show off or anything, but he didn't need to. He went in a race once, with a car race, with the guy who has the jazz club in London, or had it, Ronnie Scott. And he will not come second, Keith. He'd rather not go in it at all if he doesn't go first. But he's very competitive, and I must admit I'm similar to that. I like to win, and so he was second all the way around 10 laps, and coming up to the last lap, which was a hairpin, very difficult bend, he just said, right, it's my time. So he just slid right through, and he caught something or other on his wheel, and he went spinning around. He wasn't in the race anymore, but he came walking in the pits with just this little bit of blood dropping his lip. And I went, God, if I didn't fancy older men.
That's funny. What I did not know about Keith, he was quite a sportsman. I mean, you two were in the Bahamas together, water skiing.
Oh, yeah.
You guys did spear fishing.
Yeah.
As well. You said he was a marksman.
Yes, he was. He was a crossbow and a bow and arrow. With Roger Daltrey used to come round, and Alvin Lee all used to come round, and we used to shoot clay pigeon shooting and that in his garden. Wonderful.
And he was a pilot. He was also a pilot. Oh, you got a story there?
There's a story there, all right. Oh, yeah. You can tell that one I'm got because I might deny it after you've said it because I don't know how much trouble it could get
Well,
him in.
what? Go ahead. You tell it. You tell the pilot story. I guess.
Well, all right. I don't think it matters too much now.
No.
We went up a couple of times, and we'd have to fly out over the ocean.
Okay.
You know, this was near Brighton, I believe he lived.
Right.
Yeah, in Sussex, but very near the coast, about 50 miles. We used to run to the coast and back again, you know, when we were training for marathons.
Right.
And so we'd go up flying because he had to fly 3 or 4 hours a year or he'd lose his license. So we went up this one time, the first time, and we sneaked up a little bottle of something. And I had the time of my life. It was all over the ocean again. You know, you're not allowed to do this kind of stuff over land. And he was doing the barrel, he was doing the loops, everything. And I'm just sat there carrying on with a bottle of whatever it was. And of course, it didn't spill no matter what we did. It's a central force or centrifugal force. So yeah, kept everything in the glass, you know.
Right.
And it just terrifying, but so exciting, you know. He was unique, totally unique. Keith. Brilliant man, very funny, but very quiet. And you know, he was a bit of a recluse because everybody wanted to know him, and he was my God, you know. I couldn't believe I was living with him, no matter how much I got to know him, no matter how friendly. Family and my family lived together for like 15, 16 years in this big apartment. And no matter how much I knew him, I looked at him and I said, oh my God, look who's my mate, you know. And of course, I introduced him to Phil and Jon Anderson and so on, and everybody got on so well. Well, you know, it was London. And I tell you, like I said earlier, we all stuck together and we never forgot each other. And when we bumped into each other in anywhere in the world, we'd be the best of muckers. And it was a great time.
You and Keith wrote a song together, right? Was it For Those Who Win?
Though For Those Who Win, and
right?
The guy who's the drummer from the band,
right?
Not Lee Roth. What's he called?
Lee Von Helm.
Lee Von Helm.
Lee Von Helm, right?
He sang it, you know, which was. I couldn't have thought of anybody else. I'd rather have had singing it if I wasn't doing it. I'd hit him, and what a great guy he was. You know, he was one of the first of the drummer singers. Him and Don Henley,
right?
And of course, you know, it was something else to see a drummer sing in those days.
Yeah.
You know, the Last Waltz, my favorite video of all time, and a lot of it is because of that. The band thought they were brilliant. I try to emulate Dr. John sometimes, and because of the BB King introduction, and it's a style, kind of religious method of putting chords together. You never use the bass note. If you're playing a chord of E, you play A flat on the bass or something like. I've studied it a long time, and I absolutely adore that style of playing because there's no end. There's no end. I get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I feel like I'm compelled to play, and when I do play, it's usually that or boogie woogie. Starting to get into boogie woogie now.
What kind of equipment do you have? Do you have a Moog? Do you have a synthesizer?
I don't bother with stuff like that. I always found that a pain in the butt because it was always going out of tune.
Yeah, it's true.
So I was so happy when the other synths come in that have already had all the work taken out of them to make the sound. Because I don't get this. It's like the new synthesizers come out. I've got the Kronos now, Kronos, which is probably the state of art keyboard, cheeseboard. And I just am not very good at manuals and stuff like that. So I learned just by trial and error. And I think to myself, well, why on earth do we have to do this? It's like buying a Ferrari, but before you can drive it, you have to learn how it works.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I hate the bloody keys. I don't want to be a brain surgeon.
Right.
No? And that's what it's like reading those damn things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Huh. One of your old mates, Phil Collins. Of course, you guys were in the Flaming Youth together.
Yeah.
Do you still talk to Phil?
Very difficult to get through to Phil.
Yeah.
Phil has had a pretty disastrous life, wedded life.
Right.
He's a great dad. There's
Right.
no problem there.
Yeah.
But he's never been too lucky with whoever he's been with. I knew his first wife quite well, Andy. But I think he went in a hole when he started to have problems with his marriage, and that he didn't want to really go out there and discuss it. He just carried on as best he could. He was in love with his music, for God's sake.
Right.
And if people didn't know that, and I'm really referring to people, who took a lot of money off him.
Yeah.
So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And I find that pitiful, because they knew exactly what kind of guy he was. He was married to his music, and yet they still managed to say irreconcilable differences. Come on, let's be honest. I think that's a hell of a lot of punishment that he received for trusting for somebody like that. Sorry, that's my view.
Yeah. I like his daughter. We saw a series that she was in.
Jodie, isn't it?
Jodie
and Simon. Those are the
France,
two that I got to know.
In France, she was I forgot the name of the series, but she was very good. She was excellent. She's good.
I'm sure she's Sharon McCartney's daughter. They're both doing so well, in their own industries. But they were great kids, lovely kids. They got on very well with my daughters. But he just ended up, he wasn't a Los Angeles lover. He's lived all over the place, but never so much in LA. I think he probably had a house just about everywhere. However, I don't think he spent that much time in Los Angeles. He was in England a lot, London. He loved London.
Yeah.
But again, I was like I was like a member of the family when I came down to London. They took me under the wing, and I slept in the same room as Phil. I was on the floor or something or other. But we were the best of mates, and it was such a shame when the band came to an end, because we wanted to continue playing together, but it just wasn't to be. We weren't getting the gigs, and it's not because we weren't good enough. It's because we just weren't made to be that kind of guy. Peter Frampton was with the same management, and I think he, like us, just felt a little bit like a puppet. We wanted to we had Cream were friends of ours, or friends of our managers, and their manager, and we used to see them at parties, and we just felt this kind of look of distaste, or whatever you want, coming from them, like, oh, what are you guys, you jokes, and we did not like that, because we pat ourselves on the back as being pretty good musicians at that point, and we just felt like you don't know, you haven't heard us play yet, because when we used to rehearse, we really kind of got down, and it's a shame a little bit more didn't happen with that band.
It was a good band. The Flaming Youth was a very good band. It was you on Hammond organ, Phil on drums, Ronnie on bass, and Gordon Flash Smith, right, on guitar.
Flash, Golden Flash.
You talked to any of those guys, or?
Again, we live in different places now,
Right.
and I have nothing but love for them all.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fortunate to stay friendly with everybody I've ever played with. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I still try and keep in touch. But when you're as busy as what they are, not so much me, although I've done all right. Those guys, you know, the people I'm talking about, we're just so locked into their
Mm-hmm.
own world
Right.
that there's no way you could go out and have a jar with them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's 2 miles away from each other. But when we do bump into each other, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
always fun. I did This Is Your Life with Phil Collins. I was one of
Oh,
the
did
guests.
you? Oh, cool.
And I spent
Very
about
cool.
2 hours after the show. They put the show up. It was Thames TV up
Yeah.
on the TV. And I hadn't seen him for like 15 years or so. And we just chat and laughed, and because we had a manager who stuttered. So that was that was a good hour's conversation.
Oh, God.
Brian, you've got to go this way, Brian. Just get to the point. Where do we go? And can you give us some money for the gas? He was like,
drive me crazy.
Money. Well, biz, and that's the end of the call. So,
that's funny.
So we used to talk about that. And anyway, we had a great time. And musically, lots of good memories.
Yeah. I'm going to read an excerpt from your book about Phil Collins. Okay. He sits down at the piano and with a flourish begins to play the opening to the new iconic In the Air Tonight. I listened for about 5 or 6 seconds to the very slow, stark intro consisting of the words, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Pause, longer pause. Oh, Lord. I grimaced, thinking to myself, oh, Lord, you got to be kidding. He's not gone all religious on me now, has he? That was great. I love that.
Yeah, the joke was on me in the end, though, because we were going to see a movie. I said, yeah, that's great, Phil. Yeah, come on, we got to go. And I just passed it like he was playing, you know, God Save the Queen or something.
Exactly, yeah.
And then the following morning, well, carry on, if you want to carry on reading it.
Oh, yeah. Let me see here. Okay, and then surely he's not making this up because of what we be putting in the air tonight, is he?
You want to go on about that then? All right, come on. I can't wait. What are you going to call it?
That's funny. I love that. That's great.
You're going to have to read it, aren't they? You're going to tell them what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you got so many great stories in this book, and all the people that you've been associated with all these years. Oh my gosh, it's you know, it's hard to believe. You got to pinch yourself, you know. You know what? One album I liked when it first came out was the Baker Gurvitz Army, Heart of Fire.
Yeah,
and you're on that album.
Yes.
That's a great song, you know.
Yeah, I did a couple. I did clavinet, and there's a story there, of course, when the man walked in, Ginger, and he ignored me, totally did not see me at all. And I thought, okay, all right, well, if that's the way you want it, mate. So I waited and waited until Paul arrived, and he said, oh, come and meet Brian. He couldn't even be bothered to come over, and he didn't even look at me. He had a trench coat with his hands deep in his pockets. It was cold in Victoria in London. And I'd been there, and I was there with Eddie Jobson from Yes? No, it's not Rock's Music. No, Eddie, the producer. He produced all the early Yes things, Eddie.
Okay, right.
No, that's another world of naughty stories. But anyway, I was talking to him, and then I went over to the clavinet, and Paul walked in. He said, "Here, come here, Ginge, come and meet Brian. He's going to be doing some keyboards for me." And he come up and he put out his hand. Then I said, "Oh, you're in the band. You're in the band. You're the drummer or something?" And he looked at me and what are you saying, man? You know. But I tell you what, I got his attention from then on. He didn't flip with me, you know, fuck with me, should I say. We're all grown ups, aren't we?
People should listen to that album, the Baker Gurvitz Army, the Heart on Fire. That's, you know, it didn't get a lot of airplay, but I noticed it right away when that album came out.
Adrian was a brilliant guitar player.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, John joined for a short period of time.
Really? I didn't know that.
Joined a group called The Gun, which was one of the Adrian Gurvitz and yeah, but it didn't work out.
Yeah,
it didn't work out, but that was an interesting little lineup. Jon Anderson
it sure was.
The Gurvitz brothers.
Yeah.
He was also Hans Anderson, I think, or something or other. He did a track, a very commercial sounding track. This is John I'm talking about. So he kind of lent a lot of different ways when we first went down to London. I don't know whether you saw the videos online that we did in Germany in 67, 68.
I did see the videos. Boy,
I couldn't decide what to wear, and I was smashed out my brain. I'd never been as high and still been here. You know what I mean? I was at the absolute peak. I was as nervous as hell. And when the cameras eventually came on me, I didn't move my hands, but yet I could see the sweat just rolling off them, and I couldn't decide what to wear. So I wore everything.
You wore everything. Yeah,
I put cloaks on. I looked like a cloak stand, you know.
I like John's glasses.
The
Roger McGuinn look.
Boy, you see how he moved? He actually taught me how to dance.
Yeah.
He said, "Come on, Brian, let's boogaloo, mate."
Yeah.
He do all that in the 60s, and you know, I mean, he could move. He's nobody ever sees that, but he's a great dancer.
Yeah. You were invited to the rehearsal for Steve Marriott's All Stars. I saw them in concert, the All Stars. They were excellent. Yeah. And there was a crazy incident that happened, didn't it? Yes. Somebody's anger really blew up. A temper tantrum.
Somebody's world was smashed.
Exactly.
And in the shape and form of a huge mirror that was about 12 foot by 12 foot. It was an entire wall in Steve's
house.
That's
crazy.
And he picked up a guitar. This guy, I'm not saying who it was.
It's in the book, though. You can kind of guess.
He flirted around his head, and then he let it go, and it just landed and smashed the entire wall. And I went, "Oh, I think I want to leave."
Yeah.
It was awful.
And Marriott's guitar as well, right?
It wasn't too long after that since he died smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, I love Steve Marriott. He was awesome.
He was. We'd bump into the Marriott, not the Marriott's All Stars. It was the Small Faces at the time when Ronnie Lane was in and so on.
Right.
And Ronnie Wood, who I got to know quite well. That's somebody that I'd like to see. He again is busy. I just knew the new bass player. I just met him.
Right.
What a lovely character he is as well. But anyway, the Stones, don't have to push them, do we? They're still going. When you look at their faces, you're looking at London street maps, you know, with the cul-de-sacs. I mean, their faces are just magic.
Yeah.
I think it was the chick from Jefferson Airplane,
Ray Slick.
I think she turned around and said in the papers once, she said, "I think anybody who still thinks that they can go on stage at 40, 40 is mad, is crazy, and I think it shouldn't be allowed." Basically, she was very, very loud about it. You know, she made sure that she wanted everybody to know that it was shameful if you thought you could go on stage and play rock and roll after you were 40. Well, then that's a bit of a mistake, isn't it?
They're still selling out stadiums.
Tell me about it.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I'm knocked out because the music is what matters. It doesn't matter about who's playing it.
No.
But you watch the Stones, and they are the epitome of rock and roll. Everything. If an alien came down, it would have to be Keithy, baby. It would be our representative.
Keith is, he's an enigma for sure. I mean, I just can't believe he's still around after all these years. And he's not getting older. He's going back in reverse.
Yeah. Well, apparently he's had a face job.
It's something. I don't know how he's doing it, man.
I don't know which part of his face he did, because it still looks pretty good to me. It's still got its cranks and crannies, just like mine has. I need to get the iron out every morning, before I go out.
Let me tell you something. You do look like a model. You've got some great pictures out on the web, man. You modeling and
longer in the morning. That's all. Put in the old.
No, you're a handsome guy, man. I can tell you that for sure.
And where are we going tonight?
I mean that. It's good to see rock stars in great shape. It really is.
I do what I can. I mean, I'm not been well. I'm not going to get into the health shit.
Yeah.
I haven't been well, but I'm living, and I hopefully will still be saying this in at least 2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'll be happy with that. I nearly went for a while with prostate cancer,
right?
And I came to terms with it all. I said, "Jesus," I said, "what a fantastic life I've had." So if I go, I go.
Well, that's something you can live with, though.
Yeah,
it is. I've got good friends that have prostate cancer as well, and they're doing fine.
Yeah, well, you have it out, and you do have a few problems, but they can all be overcome now. I think anybody who has prostate cancer, you know what? Now could be a good time. I could read you a very short little poem I wrote about it.
All right.
I've got to find it. I'll have to ask someone to help me here. If you could look for the poem, and it will be, I should have already had this ready. Yeah, okay. Just looking at the book here, and if I can just find out where it was. Okay, I'm going to have to drop that for a second, but I'll tell you what, if I can't find it, it is funny. I'll send it to you and put it up on your website.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the prostate, in having the biopsy, because when I had it, and Rick Wakeman explained perfectly when the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame exactly what happens.
I know.
When the doctor says, "Where shall I do it?" He says, "Where shall I put my clothes?" And the doctor says, "Next to mine." That tells you everything about that, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's a funny guy, Rick.
Oh boy, he's funny.
Yeah,
he was hilarious. Always been hilarious. His programs for his solo concerts and stuff, were full of all these jokes about drinking and stuff. And then he went, cold turkey. He went sober, but he's become a great talker, great fun guy, a great stand-up comic, and he's always been a good piano player.
Yeah.
Rock workman, I call him. Rock workman. We all have to have these affectionate names, I think Elton's called Gladys or something or other by his friends. Like that.
You mentioned that biopsy. I've had that done also. I had a scare too. I think a lot of men do. We all go through something.
The gloves going on.
Yeah.
They don't lower the lights.
I don't like the gloves.
No,
I don't like the hand.
No chocolates by the bed.
I hate that.
Nothing. You just get straight up there.
Yeah, I know.
A rocket going up my bum.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Oh, and I ended up with, I couldn't speak. But breath went completely out of me, and I went.
Yeah.
And I felt a tear, just some drop down my face.
Yeah.
I went, oh my
Yeah,
God,
I
what the
know.
hell was that? And they said I didn't have it. And this was like, I'd had it for 10 years. They just didn't do an MRI for it.
Really? You had
They
it for
tell
10 years?
everybody, insist on an MRI before you have
Yeah.
your prostate, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's useless. They didn't see it. They
Mm.
took pieces of it, as you know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to the wrong part of the prostate, so
Oh,
missed
yeah.
it. And so I'd had it for probably 15 years.
Wow.
And I'm still here. I can't
You're
believe
still
it.
there. You look great. You look great,
I'm
man.
doing my best, Ray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Under
You
the
look great.
circumferences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
You
ask
don't
you.
look so bad yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I went through some stuff too. I had a scare recently.
Yeah.
It was, I went to I ate at Applebee's and I came back from the restaurant and started getting some pains. It felt like indigestion. Come to
Oh,
find out, I had a bleed in my stomach and it went around my heart, and I had to go in to the hospital, to the trauma center really fast. They said I could have died from it.
was it like food poisoning?
I don't. They never told me. It was some kind of infection, and it could have been from the food. I don't know.
Sounds like it.
But they had to get a needle, drain the blood
Yeah.
next to my heart, and then my lungs filled up also with water.
Oh my God, that's the kiss of death.
Yeah, and I was in and out of the hospital for 3 weeks. So this was like 8 months ago, 9 months ago.
Wow. So nothing to do with the usual stuff.
You never.
Cancer.
I was in good shape. I never had issues.
And doesn't it make you think afterwards?
Yes, definitely.
You hit the crossroads.
Yes, I've been exercising.
It changes all of a sudden, the people who were on the periphery,
Mhm.
for me,
Right.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Anybody who was a hanger on, and
Right.
there are a lot of people, I suppose people think I'm a hanger on, in their world, but that's fine. All
Right.
I know is they all left.
Yeah.
I said, I haven't got time
Right.
for people who call me up and
Mhm.
say, so what's happening, mate? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
spend 5-10 minutes telling them, and then I say to them, so what about you? And they'll say, oh, same old, same old. Now then, about the time you were with blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
and then they want to, it's useless to
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
talk about that. You want
Yeah.
to learn something yourself. And
Sure.
people,
Sure.
when they write and say hi, nothing else.
Nothing else, right?
And I'm going, what use is that? How am I going to be impressed by somebody saying hi?
I know. And life's so short, man.
That's exactly right. You've got to make
It's
the best
unbelievable
all
how,
the all
I've
the
got
time.
5 grandkids now.
Oh, wow.
I've got a daughter and a son. My daughter's 36 now, I guess, and my son's
Didn't you
33.
tell her that there's such things as televisions?
Oh man.
So I'll bet so they're all in Florida, are they?
They're all in Florida, luckily. All the grandkids, everybody's here. Yeah.
I wasn't that fond of Orlando, I'll be honest. It was a little too groccoli England or holiday makers,
Yeah.
and because of Disney, it
Yeah.
just didn't gel with me. It didn't jive. But I got to know all the locals, and
Right.
they were all like 25, 30 years younger than me, and we were going to all-nighters,
Mhm.
I mean, I had to put lit matches to keep my eyes open to keep up with these guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Do you like the beach? I mean, are you a beach person?
I like going to either of the beaches,
Right.
Tampa or the one on the other side. I like that. That was very cool. But spending Christmas 95 degrees on the beach with my suit and my tie on was just not right.
Yeah, Christmas is different here for sure. But you're in California, so it's the same thing.
Not quite.
No.
First of all, it's a little humid over there, and it's dry heat over here. So I don't mind too much, no matter what heat it gets to. But in Florida, it's a little uncomfortable. But I mean, I speak to Tony Well, we write to each other now, not so much talk as like we did, but he's absolutely in heaven there. And everybody who lives in that area, was it Sarasota? Studio. That's the other character in it.
Yeah.
So everybody says it's fantastic.
Rick Wills, does that name ring a bell? He's a bass player.
Yeah. Yes.
He played in Foreigner. He's played with David Gilmour. He's good friends with David Gilmour. They grew up together and everything. He lives here too, and he's always out on his boat.
David Gilmour is, or the other guy?
No, Rick Wills.
Rick Wills, yeah.
Yeah, bass player. He was in Foreigner. He did a lot of,
Yeah, he's a Brit.
Yeah, he's a Brit. Yep.
Yeah, I remember Foreigner. The main guy in Foreigner, he used to live in an apartment close to me, and the Foreigner were the first band. I blurred on, don't I? You mentioned the name of the group, and
I do the same thing.
It's like you put another penny in the machine, and it keeps me going.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Well, I think I was going to write my book like that. There's a method of writing it where you just write whatever you say, whatever you think.
Yep.
And
exactly.
I did that. However, I kept it in some kind of order.
Yeah. No, I love your book. You got a funny story though about meeting David Gilmour, and it's all because of Mick Ralphs.
Oh, Mick Ralphs, lovely guy. He's a bit of an old drinker, but not we all. And I had so much fun, and what a brilliant guitar player Mick Ralphs is. I don't care what stage he's in. Yeah. But I didn't know Pink Floyd. I didn't know what they looked like because I was so busy in those days.
Yeah.
And go on, carry on.
No, you thought he was the gardener, right? David Gilmour? Yeah. But he set you up, He set you up.
He set me up. He wouldn't look me in the face when I said, go and say hello to Dave, the gardener. And I said, oh, okay. So he had these big galoshes on in the garden. And I tapped him on the shoulder. I said, hey, man, David, nice to meet you. I'm just seeing David in the house now. We've come to meet him. Oh, all right, then, mate. All right. Yeah, okay. So I'll probably come in there myself a little later. Well, he did, all dressed up. And Barry Barlow, who introduced me to, he was the drummer for John Miles, and he was also the drummer for Jethro Tull.
Yep.
And Robert Plant, I think he played with him. And he was the joker. He'd set me up. And when I came in, and then out walks the pair of them. And he said, you don't know this guy then. This guy plays with the band called Pink Floyd, Brian. And David Gilmour's looking at me and shaking his head as though to say, who the is this guy? So this is the guy who doesn't know who Pink Floyd is,
That's funny.
And I was thoroughly embarrassed, but David's a lovely man, very friendly and very hospitable. And he's got a studio actually on the River Thames, which are not allowed. But they let him, or he must have paid a fortune to get a license to live on the River Thames. Wow. But what beautiful place he's got, and nice guy.
Yeah. Something in the book that's kind of cool. I like what you did with was the McFly moments. Standing dear like cheese at 4 pence. The McFly moments. I like that.
Where's that? What's this?
The McFly moments in your book.
The fly moments.
McFly. Hello, McFly.
Oh, McFly moments. Yeah. Oh, God. How could I forget those?
You forgot about that, huh?
I had forgotten them.
Yeah, they're in back of the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the damn thing. I've managed to do without. Never read it, but I'm going to have to read it.
You got to read it over again. Yeah.
The McFly moments, they're late for Paul McCartney.
Yep.
I was in the band wing.
That's crazy. Wow, you really blew that one.
Carry on with what you said. Oh, I didn't actually blow it. My wife did. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It was a fact. She was chasing behind me with lipstick and doing her face up after 6 hours. We arrive at the studio and I see his van leaving at the other side. There was no iPhones, no way I could stop him. Went in there to my mate Steve Holly, lovely drummer guy who fixed it all up. He was in wings, and he said, "Congratulations, you stood up, Paul McCartney." They're still looking for my wife's remains.
Maureen.
Yeah, it's all we've made up now.
Yeah, you stood up Paul McCartney. Oh my God. Well, Maureen.
That's unbelievable when I did that. I know.
It's crazy.
And the others, of course, were just as bad. Daryl Hall wanted to record one of my songs, and it was right at the time of I Can't Go For That and Private Eyes. What a time you were destined to have a number one.
Yep.
And the manager, Tommy Mottola, who's the manager, he's the big guy now. He's what's the begins with S. So what the name's his record company? Good God. Biggest record company in the bloody world. Anyway, he's the man, Tommy Mottola.
Okay.
And he managed me, and they tried to talk me into letting Daryl Hall do this song that was supposed to be the spearhead song for my own deal.
Right. And
you can't treat songs like humans. Can't treat it like a baby, like I did. And I said, "Oh no, this is for me, and this is big mistake." Big mistake. I've paid for that all my life, because that would have put me right up with all the big songwriters. Yep. I still haven't done bad. I recorded the Hollies and the Sheena Easton and the Ghost John stuff and Boys Don't Cry. So I've done all right, but by God, having one of those songs up the sleeve, and you're made for life, even if I never played piano again, And he was a nice guy, Daryl. Met him a couple of times. Lovely guy and a brilliant singer. So that was another of my mistakes.
Another one, yeah. You can't blame your wife on that one.
No.
Ex-wife.
But I do.
All right, Brian, here's a question I ask everybody. I get some very interesting answers, okay?
Yeah.
If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be? And you've met so many people, so it might be a little difficult.
Who would it be? Well, it would have to be, I suppose, an entertainer of some kind, right?
Yeah.
I think, wow. I know people probably already have an answer for this tucked in, but Hendrix, I'd have liked to have actually seen that through. I'd have liked to have played with him. And, just for a second here, he was going to be with Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And
really?
The band was going to be called Help. ELP.
Really?
But they decided not after a while, but it was a big possibility, according to Keith. He was a perfect guy for the band.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I suppose him. There's just so many people that I admire. I'd like to have sat down and wrote songs with Michael Jackson, even though I don't know whether Michael was a brilliant writer. I think he had writers that wrote some stuff. However, I admired Michael a lot, and I know what his private life wasn't, everybody's cup of tea. I do believe that once you're behind your own doors and if parents allow kids to go or whatever in the first place, there is your mistake. It's not. I can't talk about this stuff because I always feel sorry for the musicians who were, the Me Too movement. I mean, if they started into musicians, there would be very few of us not locked up. You know what I mean? But nobody's complained. The girls never complained at the time, but you give them a bit of dosh,
right.
All of a sudden, they come out of the woodwork, And I'm not too keen that that's fair, that their lives should be completely taken away from them, which they are. I mean, they never looked at again in a serious manner. And that's a shame because, everybody has a different take on it. And that's right. So, bollocks. There it goes.
Who's your favorite songwriter of all time, you think?
Oh, songwriter. I kind of like... I like the standards, the classic songs from, Frank Sinatra songs. You know how the depth of harmony and stuff, like my kind of town, Chicago is. Those are all different chords. They're not just different notes. The depth to the songs that they wrote in those days, and for musicals as well, were brilliant. So it wouldn't be a modern day writer at all.
Right.
Nobody modern day has wrote anything. I suppose Bohemian Rhapsody was quite something. It's a brilliant, brilliant composition that was different to anything else you've heard. You've got to admire that because it's not easy to be unique. As you and I know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you, not me.
So what's next for Brian Chatton? You got some music coming.
Yeah.
And what else can we expect? You're gonna do a few gigs, right?
I'm gonna do these gigs. I'm gonna do these gigs in the they're basically in the valley.
Okay.
In the best part of the valley where I consider it to be. And I'm going to do a show which is going to be called Rolling with Rock Royalty.
Okay.
Jay Shallon already offered help because he loved the book. Absolutely laughed a lot to that. And he also heard some of my songs. He says, Brian, this is great. And I told him I wanted to take a show.
Yes.
Vegas, which is where he lived at the time. And because he was playing in the Rock Vault.
Okay.
And so the idea is I'm going to put together Rolling with Rock Royalty. I'm going to sing Something in the Air tonight, talk a little bit about Phil Shaw, all the videos and stuff that I've got with Phil. I got tons of memorabilia, if you like. Jon Anderson, when he was 21 or 22 and I was 17, I got videos of that and pictures and so on and so forth. Meat Loaf, he's of course been a big presence in my life, and again, a shame that he had to go. So I'm going to do a song from each Joe Cocker of each people that I played with, and have two screens on the stage and just show all these. So it'll be theory as well as practice, if you like. I little talk. I like to try and be funny. I don't know whether you noticed. I know you probably didn't. Believe you me, they're not just sentences. They're jokes, I'm telling you. I always used to say it's like a joke with all the humor taken out.
Right, with all the humor taken out. That's funny.
So I'll try and have a few laughs, and I'll put extra makeup on then, and I'll try and be a good boy. And I want to do these shows and call it Rolling with Rock Royalty.
Yeah. Are you gonna have interaction with the audience as well? Are they gonna be able to ask questions?
Absolutely, that's essential. I'm going to be doing a really cool gig out in Cincinnati soon.
Right.
In October. I know it's a way off, but I've done it 3 times. And this lady, Anne Hazelbaker, lovely, lovely girl, She's a classical pianist, and she
Hmm.
owns a big music studio and concert hall. And she's calling it the Brian C. Chatton Music Hall. Come on!
Oh, wow.
How many people have had a bloody concert hall named after
Very
them?
cool.
Yeah, so
very cool.
I'm looking forward to going out and opening that.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just staying in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly jamming with people around
Good.
here and writing with different people. I always like writing with somebody. It's better than being on your own. Ideas. As long as you trust somebody musically,
Sure.
you can be writing with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to give shout outs to Charlotte Chatton, which Charlotte was in the role of Emma in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
That's
and
right.
She was also in Hellraiser 4, Bloodline. She was in the Titanic.
Yes,
She was Madeline Astor. That was
Jacob
her
Astor's
character.
wife, and she was supposed to be pregnant at the time.
Yeah. And
she's
also
had a great career. Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. She did about 12 episodes
exactly.
of that.
Very cool.
And now she just finished a movie with Tom Hanks.
Really?
It was a documentary, actually, not a movie. And she's done another documentary with Jon Anderson's daughter, Debbie Anderson.
Oh, wow.
The Women of the White Buffalo, all about Native Indians.
Very cool.
It's so cool seeing your kids, and Emily's brilliant artist. Yeah. It's so cool when you see them doing this.
Awesome.
I'm terrible at I still do stick men, I've got no art forms of that description at all. I'm terrible.
Yeah, Emily was at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. She received classical training, and her website's www.emilychatton.com. Also, Charlotte, does she do, is it called the Next Level Script, a professional screenwriting service?
Yes, and appreciate this, Ray.
Sure.
Because they're the light of my life, and anything anybody does to help them, and I'll help them.
Definitely.
Look at who it is. Even you, Ray, I'll help you now.
Oh, thank you. I could use all the help I could use.
I won't say you're my friend or anything. Don't worry.
Well, her website is www.westmountpictures.com. I'm going to put all these links up on the website as well. So
thank you very much.
We'll do that. I want to say purchase Rolling with Rock Royalty by Brian Chatton. And you can get also a personalized order, right? If you get an email.
Yeah. If you email me brianchatton@gmail, right, I'll sign it. When it's outside America, it's tough because the postage, etc., is outrageous.
It is outrageous.
So unless they want the ebook, but even if they do want the ebook, if they write to me and say I've got the ebook, and if they want some kind of a signature somehow, I'll organize it. I'm just always grateful for anybody who shows any interest in the book, because it's bloody good.
It is good. It's very good.
I know it is, because there's about 19 people on Amazon, and 18 of them have given me 5 stars. And not only that, they hold the bloody thing up like that and say, excited about it.
I give it 5 stars too.
Like no,
I give it 5 stars as well. I sent me and Susie Quattro, we exchanged books. I gave her my book. She gave me her book. For me to send my book to Susie Quattro cost me $100 because she's in the UK.
There you go. I know, it's insane, isn't it?
It is insane, isn't it?
When you can get it on Amazon for $29 or something.
Yep.
But I know the personal thing. Whenever I sign a book, Ray, I sign it. I ask the person who they are, what do they do, and I try to put a little bit of them in the inscription, so that people know that I did meet them.
Exactly.
And even though it takes an extra minute or two, it's I think it's worth it in the long while. Everybody said they love the inscriptions, so I don't mind doing that.
I want to mention that you are www.brianchatton.com. You got a fantastic website, by the way. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's my friend Ken.
Good.
Yeah,
Not everybody has that, and I
he's
appreciate that because it helps me out.
yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah, I went. I can't believe how many people you've interviewed.
Yeah, it's getting up
And
there,
look,
isn't it?
and I'm still looking. I've been looking for 3 hours now, and I still can't get to the bloody bottom of them all.
You know who I got next week? You remember Gilbert O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the songs he wrote, but he's a good
Alone
songwriter.
Naturally. Remember Alone Naturally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't a lot of the musicians' cup of tea at the time. It's a little bit like the band who I was a little embarrassed to be with, the Bay City Rollers singer, went to Japan. I said, I'll take on the gig because they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
But I said, you do not mention me to anybody. Nobody. I want to be, not involved with but they were good lads.
Yeah,
They were young and trying to get on. But I did not like the tour. The girls were just, the kids were completely wild.
Yeah.
15, 16, and they're just in the hotels, 400 or 500 of them. You can't move. And I'd rather have gone with a grown-up band.
What were you doing with them anyway? Were you performing?
I was the MD. I was the music director.
You were the director. Okay.
I made sure everybody played what they should be playing, and I took a mate of mine as well, Phil Curtis.
Right.
Because I needed somebody I could talk to.
Yeah.
Because they were just, not people that I were used to being in a band with. So I had nothing in common with them except we were British.
Yeah.
So I took my mate, and so that was great. I met Udo, who was the guy who brought the Stones and the Beatles. He was the guy who organized everything. I had my first sushi, which I said, "What the hell? It's not been cooked." And he looks at me. He says, "Yeah, this is your first time with sushi." I said, "Yeah, and my last." I said, "What the hell is this stuff? Are you kidding?"
That's funny.
Now I like it.
Yeah, yeah. I like the California rolls. That's my favorite. That's as far as I'll get.
I kind of like hot. There's a couple of sushi plates that they do, and they put egg in it.
Really?
And I like that. Those, but they get a bit bored with all the just the fish.
Yeah. Brian, come visit us, man. Come see your old mate.
And I'll go and see Tony as well.
Got to go see Tony, yeah. And I'll meet you somewhere. Yeah, I'll we'll get we'll have a little meeting of the minds or something. I don't know.
Well, next time I go over, I'll be checking Mike and Tim out.
Yep.
I love those guys, and they're responsible for me being in America in a way, because I went to them first. You were talking about Foreigner earlier. 77, my first tour was with, my first gig in California was 100,000 people at the Coliseum. I thought, well, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah, exactly. You've already peaked.
Never ahead, always behind has been my motto since then.
Yeah. Brian, thank you so much, man, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. Let's stay in touch. You got my email.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got your email. Good luck on the little gigs you're going to be doing. Sounds great.
I'll keep you informed and send you a bid.
Maybe it'll get real big, and you can, we'll see you in some other states. Maybe you'll come to Florida.
If you come to LA, give me an hour. Make sure I can get out of town.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I'll make sure of that.
Oh no, I look forward to that, Ray.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, mate.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.